Ah, yes. Halloween is upon us once again. Can you believe it? A full year has passed, and here it is. Now, I'm actually going to break down the definition of Halloween right now. Some of you may or may not know this, um, but Halloween, the word in itself, is comprised of a few things. So, hallow is a holy person, refers to the saints celebrated on All Saints' Day, which is November 1st. And the "een" part of Halloween is a contraction of eve or evening before. So basically, Halloween is just an old fashioned way of saying the night before All Saints' Day, also called Hallowmass or All Hallows' Day. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. So that's where the costume element comes from. So it's actually a positive thing that, when you are wearing a costume, you're quote unquote warding off ghosts. As a kid, I sure as heck didn't know that. So that's pretty cool. But I think the trippiest part is that the night before Halloween, the night before, okay, October 30th, is considered Devil's Night. It's not even on Halloween. So, like, trip out on that. If you think Halloween is like the spooky night, it's actually the night before. And I think that goes over a lot of people's heads. They have no idea. So, trip out on that. That's pretty cool. I actually didn't know the Devil's Night thing. I've known everything else for quite some time, but yeah, for those of you that you either learned something right now or you already knew that, I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool little facts on the definition of the actual word Halloween. My guest today is an old friend of mine. He is an OG of the YouTube period. He has a silver play button. He's got 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. 250,000. No joke. He is one of the pioneers of the action figure collecting and review community. I mean, seriously, he's made a lot of money for a lot of companies. People don't give him all the credit he deserves, but I'm gonna give him the credit right now. I mean, he's made Hot Toys and a bunch of other companies a lot of revenue from his videos. Thanks to him, I was definitely introduced to Hot Toys and some other premium collectibles. I actually bought my first premium collectible many years ago because of Sean. So yeah, so he's very impactful in the community of action figures and reviews and collectibles. So without further ado, really honored to present this episode to you today, my friend Sean Long. Let's go into your origin story of like how you got into collecting and the YouTube channel and what made you want to start that, because you were like really early on YouTube. Like you were one of like the OGs. So let's kind of dive into that.
Oh yes, man. I feel like an old man. In fact, my birthday is actually 1 week from today. I'm a.
Oh, happy early
Oh,
birthday,
thank you,
dude.
thank you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's just so crazy. I literally have had so many kids. I've just seen even recently, like at Target, when I come across fans of mine that say they were like only little kids, and now I'm like seeing them as like, in their 20s, and I'm like, I keep forgetting. It's like, oh man, I've been doing this for like 15 years or so. It's like, wow, where did the time go? But yeah, man, with YouTube, it's been a crazy journey. I've been doing YouTube now as videos. I started in 2007, but as my what people know me for, like with the reviews and stuff, I actually started January 1st, 2008. I remember that my first toy review
Wow.
was Transformers Classics Deluxe Starscream. That figure had a special place in my
Wow.
heart because a friend got me that a couple years before that, and he knew how much I love Transformers, and he saw that and thought, "Oh yeah, man, I remember you collected these as a kid." So he got me that as like a birthday present, and then I just loved it. I started getting when the Transformers movie came out the following year. I was like, oh man, Transformers is back, and it just all this nostalgia. And I remember when I was on YouTube at first. So a little backstory about me too. besides from all the YouTube toy stuff I've done, um, music is my other love.
Yeah.
I was a musician for many years, and I actually my first videos on YouTube was like old music videos I used to do. Um, Back when you film music videos, but you didn't know where to put them on. You know, you just put them on your website, and then YouTube was like, oh man, now I have a place to put them. I remember when I first joined YouTube, the first thing I did was watch music videos, and I watched like old commercials for like and
Yeah.
cartoons, like all the copyrighted stuff. Like, but well, with music, it was all the official artists' music videos, but it was just so cool. It was like MTV, but you can choose what you wanted to watch. When Transformers came back, I I started collecting again after so many years. I always been a collector since I was a kid. Even when I was just focusing on music, I remember I would collect like Nightmare Before Christmas figures. I would just have a little display in my room. I always had some little collection. It's definitely gone up quite a bit because of YouTube, but I had a very modest, very small. You could pack it in like a suitcase collection for many years. And then when Transformers came back, I started collecting more and more. So it became from like a suitcase to like, like a shelf. So like it's still a
Yeah.
modest collection, but it wasn't that bad. But then yeah, when YouTube I during the Transformers movie, I saw that I would put things online for YouTube or search things on YouTube, and I noticed that there was other people like and I'll shout them out because they were the OGs even before me, like Matrix Prime, and or there was Bob Matrix, who's still going to this day, Biker Trash Wolf, and Optobotomus, who I did a old podcast or the live show, kind of like a form of what podcast, kind of like a
Uh-huh.
podcast back in the day. And I saw that, hey, there's other people like me that love Transformers and collect these figures, and they just did reviews, showcase them, helped with the transformation, which that was a big thing with YouTube. They back in the day, we always had Transformers used to be easy to transform. Yeah, it was not that complicated, but then with these newer Michael Bay or Bayformers as they're called, they were just really complicated. So the OG Transformer reviewers, including myself, we people really loved us because we showed the transformation and showed how to transform these very complex. Because with the
Yeah.
Bayformers, they were just you know, okay, here's a truck, here's a, like a Corvette or whatever, but then here's this robot. And I remember because I watched all behind the scenes, they would come up with this cool robot design, and then they said, okay, but they also transform into one of these GM cars or whatever, like a
Yeah.
Camaro, whatever, and then they didn't think about how this robot would come from this like a Camaro or something. So I applaud the Hasbro team during those years for literally trying to come up with those the those complex transformations of how to make it work, because it was just crazy. And I remember a lot of those figures, especially during Revenge of the Fallen, were just like super complex and so hard. I remember I would do the reviews, and I just never wanted to transform some of them again. They weren't like the OG or some of the other Transformer lines were like Transformers Animated that came out back in like '09, that were just way more fun to transform. Long story short, sorry, but like I go by my last name. I'm very long winded when it comes to my explanation. I feel like I took that from Kevin Smith or something, which I met Kevin Smith. He's a really cool dude. He actually, true
It's cool.
story. One of the times when I met him, he said, I told him I don't smoke weed, and he said, "Dude, you gotta smoke weed." So to have one of my favorite directors tell me to smoke weed is hilarious, which I still don't. People don't know. I mean, I don't smoke, I don't drink. I'm straight edge. I actually,
Me
this
too,
year has
man.
been 22 years I've been straight edge. Not that I don't look down on people that smoke or drink. It's just not for me. It's just something that's just always been part of me. Yeah. But going back to the YouTube thing, yeah. So I've been, so I saw a lot of guys were doing that. So I remember back in the day. So now we have iPhones that have better cameras than the cameras that most indie filmmakers were using back in the day, or most, I remember the cameras, the video cameras you would get that you put a VHS tape and you record. Now iPhones film better quality than those bulky,
Stain, right?
yeah, video cameras, like the ones you would like film all your skating videos on and all that stuff. Even I remember
Yeah.
in the early days of YouTube, the flip cameras. Remember, they look like phones,
Yeah.
but they were
Hmm.
vlogger cameras. They don't make those anymore, but because now everyone uses their.
With the USB like built into it, huh?
Yes,
It was all clunky. Kind
yes, exactly. I remember like my friends, the OG YouTubers like Shay Carl and Charles Trippy and all of them would use those for their vlogging because, well, yeah, like I said, now you can just use your iPhone or Samsung, whatever. But now those times, like back when cameras were still very very low resolution, it was just that's what you did. So what a little story about how I first started. Before I got a professional camera, like a Canon, I actually used I had my old MacBook, and what I would do, my very first videos, if they're still on there, I think they are. You'll notice it. My very first videos, like my first year of YouTube, I would just film it on my MacBook webcam because during that time it was actually pretty good quality. It now looking back,
of.
that's like only like 480p, but during that time that was like amazing
Yeah.
quality. Back in '08, that's like amazing. It's crazy to think that 480p was like amazing quality, but yeah, that was amazing quality back to that time. And then so I would
Back
just
then.
put the MacBook webcam, like, so you kind of like how I'm filming right now. I would just put it up against the wall. You would see me behind right here. You just wouldn't see my face because I would try to make it about the action figure, and I would just transform it. So later on, once I got a roll camera, I did a like first person view, but that was kind of like looking at me presenting an action figure. It's like here's the
Yeah.
action figure, and I'm transforming it, and you would see me in the background, but because that's how you did with the webcam. And then once I got an actual camera, I could film it like first person view. So but yeah, and that's then I started doing my reviews. I would do it like almost every day because I was working a customer service job during that time, and I would come home and I just was really excited about YouTube. And back in those days, I just did like a one shot. I didn't like really edit it. I think maybe I slowly started editing. I would put in like an intro and little thing, and then as I started learning YouTube and like editing and stuff, I started like to actually edit my videos and get a better camera. And I started adding little funny little skits in the beginning and outro of my videos because I that's what I would do. Like I would, at work, I would have my some of my transformers or whatnot at my desk while I was working, and I would just transform them, or I would like act out little funny scenes, and that's what we do as a kid too. So I just kind of incorporated that in my videos, and people really gravitate towards that. And yeah, for years I would do that, and my channel grew to about 250,000 subscribers, and it's been
Yeah,
amazing.
you're at a quarter
I
million, dude.
know.
You're at a quarter million
Oh
followers,
yeah, and
subscribers.
there's I want to shout out like some amazing YouTubers that I love that have been doing it just as long and are just great guys, friends of mine like Shartimus Prime and Pixel Dan, and yeah, just so many great YouTubers like Optobotomus is still doing, and like Pia and the Review Spot, and I can go on like like so many great reviewers out there, like Anthony's Customs, so just I oh, and of course like Jobby the Hung, who's hilarious. I just watched his video yesterday, so definitely gotta get a shot at him. And Theo Adams, like Toy, yeah, he's just a great guy. So yeah, just a lot of great guys out there. Just want to give shout outs to.
So at nearly a quarter million subscribers, that means you got a what is it, silver play
Yes,
button,
yes, I
right?
have it. It's actually on one of my shelves in there. Yeah, we're, as people know, or if you didn't know, but now I just became a dad last year, so I kind of
Yeah.
I'm in my son's room, which we still have a bunch of Hot Toys against the wall, so it's still
Oh
partially a
yeah.
collection room while being my son's room,
Yeah.
and yeah, so our we want to get a bigger place eventually, but our spot we're kind of incorporating both my workspace, my wife's workspace, my son's room, and yeah, so we definitely need more room for us doing our at home jobs, and yeah, so it's gets a little tight
Yeah.
with action figures, and both my action figures and my son's, but yeah, it works out good.
For all the listeners out there, they're not aware. When you hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, you get a silver
Oh
play
yes,
button, and then I believe gold is
yep,
at 1 million subs,
and then it's
right?
a
So for those
platinum one if you get 10 million, I believe. Yeah.
10 million, okay, that's what that one
Hmm.
was. Okay, which is gnarly. Yeah. So yeah, is there actually any like toy reviewer that has a gold play button
Um,
though? Is there?
I know that with Chartemis he's done really great, and he's like surpassed me like at 600,000 or and more, and Jobby is getting like he's at 500,000, I believe. But yeah, that's the thing with toy reviewing is that, well, there's like, I think there's some actually kids, I forgot if it's Ryan's Toys or something, that yeah,
Okay,
I think
yeah.
he has 1 million. I think, yeah, because he I see his stuff like
But
even at Toy
yeah,
Store
but
at
his
Target.
stuff's different
Yeah.
though. Yeah, yeah, his stuff's different though. You guys are like the adult
Yes.
collector, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of don't. Yeah, it's like a different category.
Yeah,
That yeah,
exactly, exactly. I think that's the thing, is that there, when it comes to the toy world, there's, and especially now being a dad, I know this, there's the really awesome little kid toys that are all about like, you know, lights and sounds, or being durable, and then there's
yeah,
what you see behind me, if you're watching the video, it's like the Hot Toys and Marvel Legends, and of course like Transformers, which Transformers, they make them for all ages, but there's like the little kid Transformers, then there's the like masterpiece ones, like stuff that's like action figures ranging from hundreds of dollars that are like high end,
yeah,
super nicely sculpted. They're meant to be, they could be played with, but they're meant to be like displayed on a nice shelf.
yeah,
And that's more of me and my cohorts, like our like that's our bread and butter, is that we definitely
yeah,
have kids that love that stuff, but the adult collector is it's like our generation. It's like we grew up 80s 90s kids. We were saturated with Saturday morning cartoons and toy commercials, Transformers,
mm.
He-Man, GI Joe, Ninja Turtles, and
Ninja
Thundercats,
Turtles.
all
Yeah,
the other amazing shows, Gargoyles, and all these great, oh, of course, Spider-Man and X-Men animated series.
you just keep
Yeah, we
going,
could keep
right?
going.
So
I
much.
know. And
That was like the hot
yeah,
spot, right? Like
exactly.
that era.
You,
Like,
it's funny. And uh, tell me if you agree with me on this. I feel like, especially young, let's see, older, like millennials and some younger, or yeah, younger Gen Xers and millennials are the prime generations, and maybe some Zoomers, but mostly millennials. I noticed, because that was definitely like the ones that were born like 1980 to like the grew
yeah,
up in the 90s. So anyone's that grew up as a just cognitive, knew what toys and cartoons were from the 80s to 90s. We are the prime generations that are
yeah.
keeping the toy industry alive, not just buying it for our toys,
Oh, for
but
sure.
buying toys for ourselves to this day in our
Yeah,
30s,
yeah.
40s, 50s.
Oh, we're buying the things that we couldn't get when we were younger that we wanted. You know what I mean? A
Exactly.
lot of times it's like a lot of the like if you're getting G1 Transformers and I'm looking back to get like TMNT figures that have like the fan club
Yes,
flyer, like the first release. It's like we're looking for a very like particular thing that we could never
exactly.
have when we were kids, and we're getting it back now that we're adults and we have money,
Yeah,
right, and income to
yeah,
spend.
and that's a big thing.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, of course, with collecting, the more successful and the more money you have, the bigger your collection is going to be. That's just without a doubt, and that's always that fine line that all these toy companies have to know, is that, are you trying to go for the very like high tier collector market? Because you know if you look at other things that people collect, like whether it's the sneakers or cars and even statues that go for thousands of dollars, it's like, okay, you're really going for like the riches of the rich. But when you're coming to the toy world, it gets that fine line of being very accessible where things are averaging about $20-$25 per figure to hundreds of dollars. So it's that fine line of like people most of the time can afford all these things. But also another thing, and I talked about this with, I saw Sharmis last week because I was at his daughter's birthday. We were talking about this
Yeah.
where it just becomes an oversaturated market because there was so much stuff back in the day with the 80s and 90s that's resurfacing, and so many companies are uh making new better articulated, better sculpted action figures of those properties we grew up on. Like you think of Hasbro, Mattel, NECA, Super 7, and McFarlane Toys. Those companies in itself, even if you only collected just one of those companies, like let's take example of Hasbro. Hasbro owns
Mhm.
or makes action figures for, they own or make action figures for Transformers, Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, and Marvel with their Marvel Legends. So
Marvel,
if you only, and that's not including their new stuff they're going to do with D&D and Indiana Jones. And
Indiana
yeah, so if you
Jones.
think about, and Ghostbusters, so it's like, if you
Yeah.
only collect,
Last one.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you only collected Hasbro stuff, that is like, and because you, and if you like any of those, which a lot of us do love, like me myself, I love Transformers, I love Marvel, I love Power Rangers and Star Wars. So if you only collected Hasbro stuff, you are literally spending hundreds upon hundreds, not only like a year, but like
Yeah.
probably a month, like collecting all this stuff.
Yeah.
It is
Right.
like ridiculous.
And with the price increases,
Yeah,
too, right?
it's a
Yeah.
mixture. Inflation's part of it, but it is because you know, and I was just talking to this with Chartemis too. It's like it's we we dictate what these toy companies decide what the price is. If we for a while there, and YouTube really helped skyrocket this whole nostalgia. Like I noticed that too when when I first started doing toy reviews on Transformers and like He-Man and like the Masters Universe classics and Hot Toys and all that stuff. I remember when Hot Toys, when I first started collecting them, they only came out with a few figures every, like maybe one or two every couple months. Now they're coming out with a figure or two a week, and they make like
Yeah.
tons of stuff from like they didn't when they first started out. The MCU first started out like well now when Hot Toys, but when I first started collecting, my first few Hot Toys was like the Dark Knight, Batman, and Joker, and Iron Man. And back in the day, the MCU first started. So when Iron Man 2 and then Thor and Captain America and the Avengers and then so on and so on, they just keep increasing, made more and more. And yeah, those figures were originally only 125 to 150 to collect, and now they're
Yeah.
pushing 300 for a standard figure, and they
Yeah.
can go upwards with die casts or bigger figures like 600. It's like crazy, you know. So yeah, it's a,
Did Hot Toys
oh, what's up?
did Hot Toys ever hook
Yes,
you up with
yeah.
product?
Well,
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say because I only know of Hot Toys
oh,
because of you,
oh, I
Sean. It's
know.
you're the first person I ever saw like with like on YouTube or anything like with like a Hot Toys collection. That was my introduction to. I was like, wow, like so like I was like, that they better hook you up because you are the reason why Hot Toys made a lot of
Oh,
money,
thank you.
dude. Like, let's be
Oh
honest.
man, I mean,
Yeah.
and definitely like people like Justin's collection is keeping it going because he works with Toys Wonderland that gets them very early. Because the thing about Hot Toys, because they're based in China, I got them through Sideshow Collectibles. So one thing Sideshow Collectibles for hooking me up for as long as they did. They really now they work just internally. They just do their stuff in house now. But before they would send uh like their Hot Toys to people like me to review, and they send me a lot of stuff. So I got like probably thousands of dollars worth of stuff. So I want to thank them, and I really
Okay.
appreciate them. But yeah, it was
Uh,
like a thing. When they first started out, yeah, I noticed Hot Toys would only make a few figures like every few months to like now they're making so many like every week or so. And yeah, between Hot Toys and Hasbro and Mattel and NECA, Super 7. You just, uh, our generation, the ones that are paying for and got into collecting, at first we were just like, oh my God, I can't believe they're making these things. I'm so happy because we haven't gotten anything new since the 80s or 90s. Now we have like everything 80s and 90s have come back, and it's not just one company, sometimes it's multiple companies giving us different scales and different types of things, from pop vinyls to high-end collectibles to statues. So it's really, we're living in a golden era for us, like millennials or Gen Xers that grew up with these properties. It's like if you're 80s 90s kid, anything you love has come back in some form, in action figure, video game, movie, a new TV show. It's a good time to be nostalgic for your 80s 90s properties, you know.
Yeah, but I feel you on what you were saying earlier about like the
Hmm.
franchises and how they can get a little
Yes,
overwhelming because like I'm a big
of
Turtles
course.
fan, TMNT, and like when you've got like NECA doing
Hmm.
stuff,
Oh
Super
my God.
7, supposedly Mezco
Yep.
announced some, you've got you get like bombarded with all the like, okay, so what am I gonna collect, or do I try to get them all, or like, yeah, it gets heavy,
Yeah.
like and trying to just keeping up with like the releases
Yeah,
sometimes,
no,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. The thing is, like, what people forget with so many properties, like, okay, let, say you only collected one thing, and that's, but even if you collected one thing's Transformers or Ninja Turtles or Marvel, there's so much stuff
Yeah.
in any of those brands that comes out a year. Forget it, even a year, a month. It's like, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
with NECA, they're doing now. They first were doing just the cartoon and movie turtles. Now they're doing comic turtles, and Super Seven's doing toy
Yeah.
version turtles. So the actual toys that came out in the
Yeah.
'80s, like it would,
The last
yes,
Ronin stuff too. That's a
yeah,
whole other thing.
exactly. So
Yeah.
in Ninja Turtles, we have so many different incarnations of them. We have the '80s cartoon, we have the early 2000 cartoon, the 2012 cartoon, the Rise of Ninja Turtles. We have the movies, like all the different
Oh
movies.
yeah.
We're gonna have a new movie come out next year. Now we're gonna have we have like the next mutation, which is not
Uh,
a big fan favorite, but
yeah.
still they have their fans, and we have all the comics, and yeah, it just, with Ninja Turtles, as much as we love them, and as much as most versions have the same things that keep with every version, there's just like, it's hard to collect every version of every Ninja Turtle, because it just, it's not just one shelf of Ninja Turtles. It would be multiple shelves of Ninja Turtles with all the NECA, Super 7, Playmates toys, who did the original toys, and they're still doing new stuff. I even saw at Target, they're doing Ninja Turtles versus Stranger Things versus Street
Oh
Fighter
yeah.
versus. It's like
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. They had the Turtle Power
Yes.
Ranger line, which I actually thought was
Yeah, I
cool.
love that line.
Actually, I
That's
thought those
Hasbro.
came out
So
cool.
it is a funny thing because Hasbro owns Power Rangers. So when they're doing toys, they're doing their own versions of anything Power Ranger related. They actually, Hasbro just announced they're doing like Cobra Kai Power Rangers. Man, please do like Miguel and Johnny, and like, oh man, I
They
know. Yeah,
got it
they did
right.
Samantha. So yeah, I hope they do. Yeah, like yeah, like I hope they do a bunch, because I love Cobra Kai. I love, yeah, because when with Playmates they were doing their Karate Kid Ninja Turtles, but the Playmates, because they're still more on the kid side of things, so they're,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Quality.
quality's more like a kid's toy versus a adult collectible.
Hmm.
So I would rather
Yeah.
Hasbro, like I want to see what they do with their Cobra Kai stuff, because yeah, I would love, and NECA has done Karate Kid stuff too. So it's, man, like I said, another property with Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. You're getting three different companies making Karate Kid action figures now. It's so crazy.
I also see like
Hmm.
conventions and stuff. You sell a lot of
Hmm.
collectibles. So many good shows. I know, like towards you, you have like what the Sac Toy Con,
Yeah.
right? Is that the one that's the
Yeah,
big one
Sac
that's
Toy
popping, or
Con,
what's the?
I've done it, and then my buddy Andrew, who's actually doing one this Sunday. So shout out Andrew at Toy Fusion, which you can go to toyfusion.com.
Okay, yeah.
He I've done a lot of his shows too. I actually, because as people know, gas prices got out of hand, so I actually stopped doing the shows for a little while because I just decided to sell directly to people at home because the gas of going up to Sacramento, because I live in San Jose area, and that's like 2 hour drive, so 2 hours back and forth, and that's without traffic. So that the gas prices
Yeah.
get a little got a little crazy there, especially in California. It was crazy for us, bro. It's like crazy how much gas went up there for a second.
There's a show
Hmm.
on Amazon, and it was like about
Yes,
collectible
and my buddy
stores,
was on there. Yes,
and you
yep.
came
That was
out on it.
I
Yeah,
popped
you
up on
popped
the.
out on it. I was like,
Yep,
oh,
I
it's
was there
Sean.
too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot I was. I made a little
yeah.
cameo on that. Yeah, yeah. That was the toy store, a toy store near you. That's right. That's the show. Hmm.
Yeah, that was fun. That was I watched all those episodes because it hit right when the
Hmm.
pandemic went. So I was like, oh, I love anything that has to do with this. So I watched it
Yeah.
all, and that was cool. Kind of on that topic though, I'm sure like at a lot of these sales and even like flea markets or other things that you
Hmm.
might hit, you must find some amazing things through time. You know, like some
Oh
G1
yeah.
Transformers or some other rare oddities or things that are like super rare. Like, I'd love to hear a story of like some of the coolest finds you've ever found, or some of the things that return the most value
Oh
for you.
yeah.
You know what I
There's
mean?
something I've found a lot of stuff. There's things that the thing I was very lucky at, especially in the early YouTube days, I rebought a bunch of old stuff. But then the thing is, so much of these companies are making updated, better versions. Things that,
Yeah.
as a kid, you think of those old toys of what the new toys are what as a kid we thought the old toys were like. You know, they're better articulated. They look like the characters. They yeah, there's the newer stuff is so much better. But when it came to classic stuff, I remember I didn't buy this, but I saw it in person, and it's something that it's like anyone that owned it, because my cousin, I remember he had this, and I remember playing with it, going over to his house and playing as a kid because he was a big GI Joe guy. I remember at it was one of Andrew's shows, a guy was selling a USS Flag, the giant GI
Oh, she,
Joe playset that was, it's a aircraft carrier. It's like
yeah.
literally bigger than a skateboard. It's like you could like it's like
Oh,
a surfboard. It's so big.
for any yeah, for anyone listening, what Sean's talking about, it's literally it's a- it's it's a
Yes.
boat. It's like a GI Joe boat vehicle, but it's so big that a human being can like sleep
Oh
on it,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. I remember I was watching, which is another nostalgia show. It's about nostalgia. The Goldbergs, and he had a USS Flag in there. I was like, oh, the flag, and
Wow,
yeah, no, but I remember I saw it, and he had it in such great condition. I forgot how much he was selling it for. It was definitely a lot of money, but
they go for
I
a lot.
just
They
yeah,
go for a lot.
it was just so cool to see that in person again after so many years, and I remember one thing I got, sadly, I had to sell it because of money issues. But one thing I got, I rebought for myself in the early years of YouTube when things were going really good for me. I rebought myself a Thundercats cat slayer, and it was like in box, and it was so
Oh,
great, and the electronics work. And the thing is, now looking back, I remember when I got it again. I remember as a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing, and then when I got it, I was like, "Oh, well, it's cool." But yeah, and I don't know if Super Seven would ever do one, but man, if they did a Cat Slayer playset, because they just did a Thunder Tank, which was like a few $100s, but if
dang.
they did, because they did the Snake Mountain, and like Mattel did um the Castle Grayskull, it was in the classics line. Yeah, if they did a new Cats Lair, it would be amazing. Like I love Thundercats, so I always love that playset. Just something about cats with me, and yeah. But yeah, they're these going to all these toy shows. You see a lot of these old rare, like '80s toys, and it's hard because when you're back in the day when you would used to go to those shows or flea markets, when you saw something, that'd be, oh man, it's so great to see something like that because I never seen it. But now we're just so spoiled with all these new action figures of old properties like like He-Man and Transformers, Ninja Turtles. So it's kind of like, are you more nostalgic for the actual toy that you play with, or are you more nostalgic for the property? Because if you're more nostalgic for the property, you're set. You have tons of new stuff that's constantly coming out. If you want the
Yeah.
actual toy you play with, then you have to be super attached to it. But even Hasbro and Mattel and Super 7 NECA are making better versions of those toys. I mean, like some of them might not have the
Yeah.
same action features. If you love action figures, then get the original toys, because some of the 80s He-Man toys that the newer Mattel He-Man toys they do the characters of don't have the same action figure features like Mechanic. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. No.
they're coming out with a new Origins Mechanic, but instead of his neck, you twist his waist and his neck gets bigger. You actually just has an interchangeable
Yeah.
neck, and I was like, "Oh, that's not as fun." Or like, like some of
Yeah.
the Origins line, they do keep the actual action feature, like Pixel Dan, his favorite character is Mosquito, because he had that cool blood feature,
Yeah.
and
The
yeah,
blood in the chest.
and I got
Yeah.
the Origins one because it had that same blood feature, and I was like, it's so cool that the Origins line, for the most part, except for like Mechanic and some other characters, they try to
Yeah.
keep the original action feature alive in a new toy. But of course, like things we grew up with are definitely not safe anymore. Like Caps, like Thunder Punch He-Man. That old action figure feature won't ever come back. You can't
Yeah.
bring Caps anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny, huh? Some of those. This is random, but I had a Toy Biz
Oh
Mr.
yes,
Sinister, and there was this thing where the back of his back, you would hit a switch and his
yes.
diamond would light up. And this is weird. I still don't know how this worked out, but the battery had died out. But when I would stick it next to an outlet, which I'm not sure if you're supposed to do, I would like make it touch the outlet, and then I would hit the switch, and then it would
Wow.
light up. So I like tripped out as like a
Oh my
little
god.
kid, like what's going on? And maybe the power was surging through, and I was like, hold. Maybe I shouldn't have been holding
Yeah.
it like that, or. But there was like some things back in the day that they used to do that they will not do now.
I
It's
know,
it's
yeah.
crazy.
You
Yeah.
think about the way toys were made, and the action figures features they had, like yeah, even like the old school easy bake ovens or the creepy crawlers, and yeah, it's just
Oh
like
yeah.
crazy.
The creepy crawler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like yeah, there was definitely some toys that definitely would hurt us, or even I think about what was that the thing we used to play where we would jump. It would be like, it would be like a ball, and you had like it kind of looked like a Saturn, but like you would jump on it, and it had like a little place for your feet around the ball, and you would jump on it, and
Oh
you would
yeah, yeah. So it hooked
yeah.
around one foot,
Oh
and
yeah,
you
that
spin it
was
in
the Skip It.
circles.
I remember that one.
Skip it, skip it. No, 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 no.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
there was
Skip it.
Skip
Yeah,
It. That one was
yeah.
a little bit safer, but that I still remember kids tripping over those and falling. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I remember so many toys, or like the rocket shoes, like they were kind of like little trampolines, but for your feet. Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
I was on YouTube one day, like we were all watching like these old toy commercials of things that were just yeah, it was on Watch Mojo or something, and like toys that were definitely recalled way too dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the classic example of that would be like the infamous
Oh
rocket
my god,
firing
I
Boba
know.
Fett, right? I mean that would be like the first. I mean, not the first example, but like the first
Mm-hmm.
big one that I think of. Yeah, that like
Oh
was such
yeah.
a big deal. That actually made it
Yeah.
increase in
Yeah, that
value,
was
right?
one of the
Yeah.
rarest Star Wars figures I go to. I remember I was watching um man, yeah, like it was the toys that made it, or like the toy hunter or something like that, that one guy with Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Uh huh.
he
Remember?
found one and he sold it, and for like I think it was like he sold it for like $10,000 or more. It was something crazy. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's worth more
I
now,
know
actually. Yeah.
it's crazy,
That's
man.
a lot
I
more
know
now.
it's and that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like the actual toy itself is, I mean, that's the thing when it comes to collecting. I try not to collect things just because they're valuable. I want to collect something that means something to me. That it's a character I
Yeah.
love. It's a toy that I'm very attached to. It's something like that. But like, there's some people that really they go for like the rarity of things, and they want to collect something because it's like so rare, and they have this big collection. But yeah, I think that's that fine line of being a collector, where are you collecting things because they're the things that mean a lot to you, that bring you joy, or are you just collecting because of it's like being Indiana Jones. It's just a very valuable thing that belongs in a museum, something like that, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that there's so many different levels to collecting. I mean, there's even the whole, thing of buy two because you're gonna
Oh
keep one in
yeah.
the box and
Oh yeah.
open,
I am very
like
much
that.
against that. For me, for all the mint and steel box collectors, I totally understand that appeal. But I am I collecting boxes or am I collecting action figures? You know what I'm saying? It's like I. The good thing is that
Yeah.
with Hot Toys and a lot of things I collect, it keeping them in box just wouldn't make sense. It's like you want to take them out of the box, you want to display them. Uh,
Yeah.
and also, if people didn't know this, and I think you know this, bro, but a lot of companies like Hasbro, especially, they're doing away with a lot of the plastic in
Yeah. I was gonna
yeah,
ask you that right now. I
yeah,
was gonna talk
in the
about that.
collecting out. I'm all for that because one, um, it it does away with for all the people like me that just put the box in the recycling. It's better recycled because plastic is one of the hardest things to recycle. They actually talked about. I was watching Philip DeFranco like earlier this week, and they Greenpeace just talked about plastic in itself, like for like anything, like whether it's plastic bottles or plastic packaging for anything, is one of the hardest things to I think it's only like at 5% plastics are recyclable. It's terrible. So with plastic for figures, that's something you're going to keep that has value, right? But when it comes to plastic packaging, for a lot of us, like myself, we don't care. We want to open up, we want to put it on display. The box just uses up space. I know a lot of mint and steel box collectors are a little upset, like Hasbro is doing away with the plastic clamshell, and you can't see the figure. And I
Yeah.
know there is a cool way to display your action figures in their packaging, but it, unless you have, like I said, a huge amount of wall space, if you're going to be a big collector of a line and doing it that way is going to take up more space than if you put them all on shelves. So to me, already being an action figure collector is a niche market, but being a mint and sell box action figure collector is even more of a niche. So I'm okay,
Hmm.
not only for the environment, but also I think it's so much better just to do away with plastic packaging. You can recycle the cardboard from the plastic, and yeah,
Since it's Halloween coming up, this is technically gonna be like a
yeah.
Halloween episode. Do you have any spooky stories, or you thought you saw
Oh
something,
man,
or
I've driven late at night where I I've seen I was hoping it's coyotes where I've seen animals and their eyes are glowing so yellow and they just stare at me for a second and they go off and I'm like, wait, what animal is that? So I hope it's like a coyote. It's like they looked at me and they give me this look where they kind of like smile. It's like this almost an interest smile. It's like what the hell? And then they go off and it's like it
yeah?
was in my neighborhood like a couple years ago. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, it was
Oh, dang.
yeah. Luckily, nothing bad has happened. Well, I always worry about my cats. Sometimes go outside and luckily because our neighborhood has tons of fences. So here's the little thing with animals for anyone that knows, anyone that has animals there. If you have cats, make sure never let out your cats in areas that you live in wide open fields and you don't have a bunch of trees or fences they can climb at because when I don't know if you know Los Baños. Yeah, Los Baños
Okay.
is like in my area. It's a little bit south
Yeah.
from where I'm at. It's very well, at least when I lived there back in the early '90s. It I had a couple of cats and we moved them there from San Jose, and I remember slowly and surely, our cats would just stop coming home. And I was like, where's our cats? Did they get lost? And lo and behold, it's because coyotes were in our area. And there was just tons of fields. There was not that many houses and not that many trees. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like the cats, if they were just in a field and they have to deal with a coyote or something, they would just get mauled and eaten. And
Hunted.
yeah, that's the thing. Don't ever let
Dang.
out your cats in anywhere that's a wide open field because their claws don't do that much. It helps them climb, but they're not they don't have teeth that can like dogs or they can fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty defenseless when it comes to fighting against larger predators, you know. Yeah.
That's a real life
Yeah,
terror
exactly. Yeah,
versus that
exactly.
claw.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
oh yeah, and that's the thing
Golly.
about the Bay Area and California in general. Tell me if you dealt with this. I've driven at night so many times. I've seen every animal except a bear. Like I've seen coyotes, possums, raccoons, skunks, deer, reindeer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen mountain lions. That was another one too. Yeah,
Me too,
yeah.
dude.
It's
That was
the
crazy.
thing
Yeah.
about the Bay Area, especially we have a lot of area that is just like woods, and people like live in areas that are just like full on. I don't know how they could walk their dog or jog, because not that I would worry about getting mugged. I would just be worried I would get attacked by a mountain lion, you know. It's like I've seen
Yeah.
deer just
Yeah.
hang out in people's front yards, and like and other animals too. So yeah, like we get a lot of wilderness here. It's like even for the Bay Area being very you know, Silicon Valley and whatever. It's just we still have a lot of animals here. It's crazy.
Ordinary questions with
Hmm.
extraordinary individuals. And our first question is, what is your
Red,
favorite
as
color?
you can tell, I'm wearing it too. Like red. It's funny because I'm not. We'll get political. I'm not a red voter, but I'm definitely red has always been my favorite color. I don't know. It's just I've always gravitated like Power Rangers. I love that the Red Ranger was the leader, and Raphael was my favorite Ninja Turtle. Red, you know. So yeah, red and Spider Man, Iron Man, Superman. I love red. So.
What is your favorite artist
Oh
or
man,
band of all
that's a great
time?
question. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh man, I love music, so I can go on forever. If I was
Yeah.
saying of all time, definitely like Michael Jackson. I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. In fact, I got almost all the Hot Toys Michael Jackson figures. Like I absolutely love him. I just love everything he's done, from like, you know, Thriller to, you know, like This Is It. You know, I if I could, besides I want to stay alive for my family, but if I had to give my life to bring Michael Jackson back in the world, I would gladly do it. That's how much I love Michael Jackson. Yeah, and then of course I just want to spitfire through a bunch of my other influential bands. Of course, I love the Beatles and Queen, and then and Van Halen. But then I'm a big punk rocker, pop punk guy. So I love AFI, Green Day, Blink 182, Fall Out Boy, Rancid, especially the Bay Area ones with Green Day, Rancid, and AFI. Those are my trinity of Bay Area punk guys. And of course, there's like other great Bay Area punk bands like, you know, No Use for a Name, Rest in Peace, and you know, Dead Kennedys. But I also love newer artists like Halsey. I love Billie Eilish, and you know, there's, you know, and I love the newer rock acts like Machine Gun Kelly and Black Bear. So yeah, but of all time, definitely Michael Jackson, Beatles, and you know, Green Day, AFI. You know, so those are my favorites. So.
What is your
Oh
favorite
man,
movie
so
of all time?
that's a great question. I have so many favorites, but because I have them tattooed on me, The Nightmare Before Christmas, which turns 30 next year. I
Three.
can't believe already turns 30. Yeah,
Wow,
I think
yeah.
it's I know a lot of people think, "Oh man, you were emo kid," which I was, but no, but I literally watched that movie in theaters as a kid. I remember watching it opening night. I've seen it in theaters many times. I've owned every version of the movie from VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, you know, 4K, you know, all that stuff. And I my birthday is next Thursday, so I was supposed to be born on Halloween. So I always loved Halloween. I always loved Christmas. I loved Tim Burton, like growing up on Batman and Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice. So and I love stop motion too. I grew up on the Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Frankenbass, you know, stop motion things. So
Yeah,
it
Frank. Yeah.
hit everything I loved. I loved the music. I loved the story. Yeah, I just loved the characters. I really related to Jack Skellington, that you, because that's how I felt when I got into YouTube too. Like, I tried doing music for so many years. I needed something new and fresh, and his love for Christmas, it was like my love for YouTube, and then but then going back to music, like I just then recently I've been trying to work on music. It's been harder because I'm a dad now, but yeah, it just reminds you like why you love the original things you love. So there's so many deeper things about Nightmare Before
Yeah.
Christmas that I can go into. But I love that movie. I watch it every Halloween and Christmas. And yeah, I can't wait for the
Awesome.
30th anniversary next year, especially NECA, who were the first uh figures I bought
Yeah,
of. Yeah,
I saw that.
they're finally doing new Nightmare Before Christmas figures, which I love. The only thing is I hope that I learn from, because anyone that's been collecting NECA for decades like I have, Nightmare Before Christmas, I love their figures they did, but with Jack Skellington, they broke a lot. I broke a lot of Nightmare Before Christmas figures, so I hope that, yes,
QC
yeah. So
issues
I
at that
hope
time, huh?
they,
With those ones, yeah.
because NECA, you even to this day, their plastic's a little different from the plastic that Hasbro and like Mattel use, because they were more like when McFarlane, they were more that adult collector. They were one of the first adult
Hmm.
collectors with McFarlane to do um, cater to that market. They weren't making toys that would, yeah, adults bought them, but they were still made for kids, you know. So I hope that their plastic is better, because I would love to rebuy all their new ones, because I a lot of the stuff I have has broken over the years. So yeah, I hope their new stuff doesn't break as easily.
What is your favorite
Oh
snack
man,
or
great
dessert of
question
all
too.
time?
Popcorn, favorite snack of all time. I, I am not a big chip person, or I don't really snack on much, but popcorn, whether it's at movie theaters or just at home, like just watching anything, like whether it's YouTube or movies. I love popcorn. And food, it's a man. Just like Ninja Turtles, I love pizza. It's funny because as I got older, I really love sushi. So I kind of went from like I preferred
Yeah.
sushi over pizza. Sometimes I feel like, am I more like the Turtles or more like Master Splinter? But yeah, I get big on seafood. I love sea animals, but I do have a guilty pleasure for seafood. But yeah, but I think
Mhm.
pizza. Yeah, pizza is something I can go even bad pizza, still good pizza, but yeah, I think those are like my favorites. Yeah.
What is one place you have not traveled to yet
Oh
that you
man,
still want to
yeah. There's
visit?
a few places I would love. Um, man, I in my heyday, like I would go all around the country, so I've seen most of what the country has to offer, and so many great things all around the country. But in the world, I would love to see so many places. Like I would love go to you know Paris or Italy or yeah the UK, especially because I love a lot of music from there. Australia, like the beaches there. Oh, and Tokyo, and I'd love to go to Japan or China. So yeah, there's more lists of places I haven't traveled than I've traveled. I've mostly traveled around the country than the world, and I definitely need to make amends for that. Sadly, a big part of that because I had issues with my passport, and I finally squared away. I found my old passport and got it renewed, and now I can finally travel the world again.
What is your favorite franchise or nostalgic
Oh
property
man,
of
I
all
think
time?
besides Nightmare Before Christmas, it's probably because I have it tattooed on me too. Transformers. It was one of the first things I loved as a kid. I love Marvel. I love DC, like Superman and Spider Man, Iron Man, and Batman. But um, I think what I love about Transformers more of anything else I collect, and I I just love they're three toys in one, right? They're a articulated robot, they're a vehicle like a car or a tank or jet, and they're a puzzle. So I like that not only they're three toys in one, but they're also something that I can bring my 1 year old son to my Transformer collection, and I don't have to worry about him destroying it if I brought him near my Hot Toys collection. You know what I'm saying? So I like that little kids to like guys in their 30s, 40s, and 50s can enjoy Transformers. I think and it's just a property that I it just I just always like that Civil War, good versus evil, and these
Mhm.
alien, robots are trying to, you know, uh, learn about human society and culture, and they just want to be part. They love our planet. They're, just like with Superman, they're an alien that become like part of it's their new home, and they become they love their adopted home. So I always gravitated towards franchises like Transformers or Superman that they may be an out of this world crazy like super powered being, but they just want to learn about human life. They want to be one with humans, and I think that's really cool. It shows the best of humanity when done right, when it's not just all like like give me your face, like that kind of Michael Bayism. But I love Bumblebee. I'm excited for Rise of the Beast, so I'm excited for where Transformers is going, especially in hands of actual fans.
All right,
All right.
last question, Sean. If you could offer one last bit of advice to anyone out there trying to pursue their passions,
Oh man,
what would
yeah,
it be?
great question. If you're trying to pursue your passion, just know that it's okay if you're not successful right away. It's okay if you're not good at it right away. So I'm always one person that a lot of us admire, like Stan Lee. People forget he didn't create characters like the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Hulk. He didn't create those characters till he was in his 40s. So people think, yeah,
Yeah,
people
that's
think, I
cool, huh?
know some things we want to do, it's easier when we're younger and more nimble, but there's so many things you can do, whether it's music or YouTube or movie directing movies, art. There's so many great things like you can do. You don't have to be young. You can actually, with experience and knowing what you're actually like and what life experience, you'll actually be better at. And that's what shows with Stan Lee, because he was also in World War II vet, that he was able to create so
Yeah,
many great characters in the Marvel Universe, characters that we love to this day. So, yeah, I just don't feel like there's a deadline for your dreams or your goals. In fact, if anything, don't go out with a set of goals. Just say like, I want to do this thing, and if I do it, it's great. But just do it because you're passionate, because you love it. It's something that you want to create something awesome for the universe that will stand the test of time, not because it'll make you lots of money, because money comes and goes. It's great when you can make good money off of your creations or your passion, but when you're making something like that's why I really gravitate towards music and movies, because when you're making something that is really something passionate, you can tell that the director, writer, actors were really passionate about. It really stands the test of time, even if that thing initially
yeah,
wasn't big at the time, like the movie or the music. If it means a lot to you, that's what it can inspire the next generation to make the next great song or movie. And that's the thing, you should keep in mind, make something that's very inspiring for yourself that will in turn inspire other people, the next generation.
yeah. It's a beautiful cycle, right? It's like it keeps
Yeah,
it keeps going. Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing words, Sean. Yeah, thank you so
Of
much for
course,
being on the
I'm really
show.
honored, and you are
Um,
such a great and talented guy, and I'm so glad you're doing this. I think it's so great. Just like you go, like a lot of our favorite people, like whether it's Kevin Smith or others, are going into the podcast world. I missed it too. I used to do podcasts. I need to get back into it because I love talking. Is one of my favorite things to do. So I could do a long,
yeah,
a
dude.
Sean Long podcast.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, if you
Yeah,
do that, man, let me know.
if
I'll
I ever
jump in
do
on
it
an
again,
episode, you
man,
know?
you would definitely be a guest for sure.
Awesome.
Of
Well,
course.
thank you so much, Sean. Follow Sean on his YouTube. Right.
Sean X Long. So the X because I'm straight edge. So it's just my name
Okay.
with an X to separate my first and last name. But if you search me on YouTube, Sean Long, I pop up. The funny thing is, I totally forgot. I forgot
Yeah.
which. There's a guitarist for a band that's also named Sean Long, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh crap! It's like, but he's like British, so I'm the American Sean Long. Yep,
There we go.
yep,
He's
exactly.
the variant.
Thank you.
You're the OG. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So without further ado, thank you so much, my friend, and thank you everyone for
Yes, live
listening.
long
Have
and
a
love
great
life.
day. Thank you for listening to this episode of Passions Personified. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Happy Halloween, everybody. I know it lands on a Monday. It's kind of weird. You know, for the kids trick or treating, it is, they got school and stuff, so that's sort of a bummer. If you're the one handing out the treats to the trick or treaters, maybe you want to get creative with some of the things you hand out. I was thinking about handing out comic books, like straight up comic books. So the kids are like, "What the heck? Got a whole comic book?" I might just do that. That's something I'm gonna do in the future. I was remembering back to the days when I was young, and you're trick or treating, and you got the dreaded half bucket full of Tootsie Rolls that I don't want to eat. No kid wants to get the Tootsie Rolls, or there's a bunch of other candies that we don't really want to see in the bucket versus other things, right? But one time I got $1, a buckaroo, and I always remembered that. That tripped me out. I remember dumping my bag of candy, and yeah, there was $1 in there, and I was like, dude, this is so cool. I'd never forgot that, So yeah, maybe get innovative with some of the things you hand out, or I remember hearing stories. It never actually happened to me, but people getting like king size candy bars and stuff. That's always like the getting a bar of gold in your trick or treat bag, right? Anyways, just felt like sharing that story. Everybody, stay safe. Have a happy Halloween. Watch a spooky movie. Watch something that brings nostalgia or a smile to your face, or maybe you want to get terrified and you want to genuinely watch something scary. Go for it. It is Halloween, but most importantly, have fun, stay safe, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. And yeah, please spread the word to family and friends. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this rolling. I got lots of great episodes coming, and I appreciate every single one of you. All right, happy Halloween.